Daled Vav. Regarding two saliva specimens, one of which is tame, one of which is tahor, and we suspend truma on the top of touching the saliva, carrying it or causing it to move in the private domain, and for contact in the public domain, when the saliva is moist, and for carrying it, whether it is moist or dry. If there was a single specimen of saliva and one touched it, carried it, or moved it to the public domain, we burn truma on its account. And needless to say, truma is burned on its account in a private domain. There are uncertainties that the sages ruled tahor, as uncertainty regarding drawing water in a mikvah, and uncertainty of tuma floating on the surface of water, and uncertainty of tuma concerning beverages with regard to acquiring tuma, the uncertainty of deemed tame, whereas with regard to conveying tuma, it is deemed tahor, and uncertainty concerning tuma of hands with regard to acquiring tuma, to conveying tuma, or to becoming tahor is deemed tahor. And uncertainty in a public domain of uncertainty concerning rabbinical edicts, the uncertainty pertaining to chulin, and so on, and uncertainty concerning shratzim, and uncertainty concerning afflictions of tzaras, or uncertainty concerning naziris, and uncertainty concerning firstborns, and uncertainty concerning sacrificial for offerings. And uncertainty covering tuma, which is floating on the surface of water, is tahor, whether it contains or on the ground. Rav Shimon says it contains, the uncertainty is deemed tame, but on the ground it's deemed tahor. Rabbi Yehuda says an uncertainty relating to one's descent into the water is ruled tame, as uncertainty relating to his descent from the water is ruled tahor. And Rabbi Yossi says even if there is no space in the water for anything more than the person's bulk and the tuma, he is tahor. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Safek mashkin. Okay. So safek mashkin litame. So we said that that if there's a doubt about whether or not a liquid became tame, then we go lechumra that it would become tame. Okay, tzad haso tame she pashat es raglo lebein mashkin tohorin. So a guy was walking barefoot between, and there were some tahor liquids that he passed by, and he is not sure. Safek naga, safek lo naga. He's not sure. He may have brushed against, or somehow, maybe you'll say his finger stuck into it or something, and but he's not sure if he made them tame or not. So that's safek naga, safek lo naga, safek or tame. So in such a case, we're going to say that liquid is considered tame. Throw it out. Okay. Haisa kikar tmea biyado uzraka lebein mashkin toherin. However, and also, so if there was a tame loaf of bread, and he threw it, and it bounced somewhere, and it may or may not have touched the tahor liquids. Safek naga, safek lo naga, sfeiko tame. Again, the safek is tame. Now this contrasts with what we said before. About the tuma mahaleches, where let's say you've got the weasel with a sheretz in its mouth,
right?
And we said that if there's a doubt over there, it's tahor, because the tuma didn't have a fixed place. Now this bread that was bouncing all around, it must be that the bread actually settled, because otherwise it would also be a tuma mahaleches. So this. I think that's the way we come to understand it, or else there's an extra chumrah with tahor liquids in particular. Let's see, yeah, it must be after it came to rest. There's a question about whether it touched the liquids.
Right.
Okay. Uletame tahor. Now, in the other direction, however, if the liquid was already tame, and now there's a doubt as to whether the liquid touched something tahor, that we said the halach is going to come out tahor. How so? Haisam makel biyado. He's got a stick in his hand. Stick being important because the stick is not makabel tuma itself. Okay. Ubarosham mashkin tamein, and it's wet with a tame liquid. Mm-hmm. Okay. Zraka leben kikaros. And he threw it, and it landed somewhere between some tahor loaves. So in this case, we're not sure whether the liquid touched the loaves or not. Again, this is not because it's a tuma mahaleches. It's because because even though after it came to rest, and so the throwing part is not the important part. The important part is that lying there somewhere is a stick with some
Right.
with some liquid on it, and for some reason a doubt has arisen as to whether or not these loaves have touched the liquid that was on the stick. Safek naga, safek lo naga, sveikotar, and they paskin that this is a doubt that is ruled leniently. Okay, next case. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Safek Mashkin La'ochlin Tameh. He says that when it comes, when you've got a doubt of liquids, he disagrees with the previous Tana. Okay, and he's saying that if there's a Safek of liquids that's got to do with food, it's Tameh. But a Kalim, it's Tahor. How so? Shtei Chavios. You've got two barrels of water. Achas Tameh v'achas Tahora. One is Tameh, one is Tahor. But Asa Isa me'achas mehen. He took water to make dough from one of them, and now he doesn't know which one he took it from. Safek minat Tameh, Safek minat Torah Asa. Okay. Zehu Safek Mashkin la'ochlin Tameh v'lekelin Tahor. So since it's been, if it's this is involved now with the bread, and he says that if it's a doubt about food, then we rule it's tameh, and if it's about kalim, in other words, if you stuck a cup into one of them to spoon some out, and you poured it somewhere else, and now you want to know if this kli is tahor or tameh, then the doubt is ruled tahor about the kli. Okay, but in this case, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Yossi. We just mentioned his opinion because it's important to learn his opinion. Okay. Yud Aleph. Safek Yadayim. A doubt about the hands. Li Tameh, whether the hands became Tameh. Ula Tameh, or if the hands were already Tameh and we're not sure if they were Tameh something else. Veli Taher, and a doubt as to whether the hand became Tahor again. The Safek in all these three cases is called Tahor. Okay, and we don't actually need to dive too deep into this because this is all it's all pretty self-evident what we're talking about when it comes to doubts with the hands. We don't need to bring any examples. It's quite easily understandable what whether if there's a doubt whether the hand became tamei, whether it transmitted to something else, or whether a doubt whether it became tahor. In all these cases, we rule a safek tahor because in any case, yadayim is already a chumrah of Rabbanan that they paskin, so they're not going to be machmir on it to the extra degree that even a safek is going to turn them tamei. Okay, safek divrei sofrim. Okay, a safek in the words of the chachamim. Safek divrei sofrim. Let's just see again what he says. If if you have any kind of safek of where a person became tamei in rishus hayachid with a tumah that is not that is not a daraisa tumah, it's a darabanan tumah. So we learn that the achal sheshani la'el shetiaru chachamim. So in such a case, chachamim said this is considered tahor. Okay. Achal ochlim tmeim. For example, if he ate tamei foods, or shasa mashkim tmeim, or he drank tamei liquids, bar rosha v'rubo b'mayim shovin, or he put his head and the majority of his body into drawn water, or shenafel al rosha v'rubo shlosha lugin mayim shovin, or that large amount of drawn water fell on him, which means basically taking a long shower would also do the trick. Okay, yeah. So these are all cases where Chachamim paskened a tumah on him. Midoraisa he's tahor, but Chachamim said no, he's tamei. Sveiko tahor. Now, if there's a doubt as to in any of the sveiko tahor, in other words, if he sveiko tahor, this is so if there's a doubt as to whether he became tamei in any of these ways, then he's ruled tahor. And similarly, if there's a doubt as to whether or not he became tahor, so let's say he was there was a safek if the mikveh that he went to was kosher or not, if it any safek of the mikveh, since the tumah that he's talking about is a derabanan regarding him, that suffix is paskund lekula, that is tahor.
It
About
seems a very makel in things being tummy, tahor. In some of these, it seems like they're more makel in this.
that's right. They make on these things because the tuma itself is a tuma derabanan.
Yeah.
So worst case, if they paskin wrong, if the suffix actually in reality was that he did become tame through one of these things, but the tuma derabanan, the rabbanan themselves have the power to be matirit, since they paskin the tuma derabanan. Therefore, and they say the suffix clears it, so
Right.
they're allowed to do that. Okay,
Okay.
aval davashu avatuma. If there's something that is an avatum of a hu medivrei sofrim, for example, if chachamim paskind on something that becomes an avatum, for example, dam tavusa, the blood that drips out of a corpse. We said that's it's tame, but only midrabanan, but nonetheless it's called an avatuma midrabanan. So it's a suffix whether he touched it in the Rishus HaYachid, that suffix is called Tameh. Okay, so that's all these cases where all these other cases where whether Chachamim paskind on him that he, if he ate ochlim tameim or shasa mashkim tameim, all these cases the Chachamim only made him a rishon tumah. But when there's something that involves an avha tumah paskind by Rabbanan, that suffix we still treat stringently as any suffix regarding that, and Rishus HaYachid would still be paskind as tameh.
Okay.
Okay. Nonetheless,
All right.
if it came to truma, if he became tameh from a suffix tuma derabanan, we would not be allowed to burn the truma on that.
Okay.
It would be
All right.
suspended. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Based
Base
on-
on. If a woman was pickling greens in a pot and she touched the leaf that was outside the pot on a dry spot, even though it has the volume of an egg, it is tameh. But all the rest is tahor. If she touched it on a wet spot, it contains the volume of an egg, everything is tameh. If it does not contain the volume of an egg, it's tameh, and everything else is tahor. If it returned to the pot, everything is tameh. If she was tameh as a result of contact with one who contracted tumor from a corpse, and he touched either a wet spot or a dry spot, if it contains the volume of an egg, everything is tameh. If it does not contain the volume of an egg, it is tameh, and everything else is tahor. If a woman who was a tevel yom was pouring out the contents of a pot with unwashed hands, and she saw liquid on her hands, and it is certain whether she sprayed it from the pot or whether it's touched the stalk touched the hands, the greens is disqualified. But the pot is tahor.
Yeah.
Reb Eliezer says one who eats a rishon food becomes a rishon, a sheni food becomes a sheni, and a shlishi food becomes a shlishi. Reb Yeshua says one who eats a rishon food or a sheni food becomes a sheni, and if he eats a shlishi food, he becomes a sheni for sacrificial things, but not a sheni for truma, with chulin that was made to the tahara standards of truma. The rishon and skip the page. No, that's right. And no, I have to skip the page. Here we go. The rishon of cooling can become tameh and contaminate with tuma. The sheni disqualifies but does not contaminate to a tuma, and the shlishi may be eaten in a dish containing truma. Okay. The para. Well, we made a steam yesterday, my producer and I in New York.
Oh wow.
And we finished Makos.
Mazel
And
tov.
yeah, thank you. It's a long time. So now we're going back. We did this a long time ago. Truma. We're doing Teruma. I said, oh, that'd be great. I'll fit it right with everything I'm learning now. So
Shumas.
not
Shumas.
Truma.
Tamura.
Tamora. I meant Tamora. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
We did
So
that once before.
Tamura doesn't have a Gemara. I was just going to say Trumas doesn't have a Gemara.
Oh no, yeah, I always do that. So we're starting that. I guess next week or the week after.
Yeah.
If the part, and I went when I did it then, it was hard. Maybe it should be a little easier now, maybe. If the pirate did not want to leave and we did not take a black cow along with it, so that people should not say they slaughtered the black cow, not a red cow, so that people should not say they slaughtered two pirates of Duma. Rabbi Yosef says it is not because of this reason, but rather either because it is stated, and he shall take it out, which means alone. And if the elders of Israel would see the delegation by foot to the Mount of Oil, there was an immersion room there. And they would rend the tummy of the Kohen who was to burn the power on account of the Sadducees, so that they should not say that the Para Aduma service was performed by those who had experienced sunset. They would place their hands on him and say to him, "My master Kohen Gadol immersed once." He would descend into the mikveh and immerse, come up and dry himself. There were logs arranged there, either of cedar, laurel wood, or boxwood, or smooth fig wood, and they would make it into a sort of tower, and they would open the windows in it, and its face was westward. They would hand the paraduma with the ropes of rush and place it on the top of the pyre with his head toward the south and his face toward the west. The Kohen would stand to the east with his face to the west. He would slaughter the paraduma with his right hand and receive the blood in his left hand. The Rabbi Judah says he would receive the blood in his right hand and put it into his left hand and sprinkle it with his right hand. He would dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle blood 7 times in the direction of the Holy of Holies. For every sprinkling, there must be a dipping. When he would finish sprinkling, he would wipe his hands on the body of the para aduma, and he would descend from the pyre and kindle the fire with twigs, and Rabbi Kiva says with palm fronds. Okay.
Caleb.
Zion, the remnants of a prod from above, its measure is 4 handbreadths. The handle of a spade, its measure is 4 handbreadths. The handle of a matak for pounding, its measure of 5 handbreadths, and the handle for a small hammer of a small hammer, its measure is 5 handbreadths, and the hammer of and that of a hammer is 6 handbreadths. The handle of an axe for splitting the wood, and for hoeing, its measure is 6 handbreadths, and the handle of a stonemason's chisel, its measure is 6 handbreadths. The remnants of the blade from below, and the measure is 7 handbreadths. The handle of a householder's shovel, Beit Shammai says its measure is 7 handbreadths, and Beit Hillel says its measure is 8 handbreadths. The handle of a shovel of plaster, as Beit Shammai said, is the measure of 9 handbreadths, and Beit Hillel says its measure is 10 handbreadths. If the length of the handle is more than this, it wishes to preserve its length, its tummy. And the handles of utensils that are used with fire, their measure is of any odd. Regarding glass utensils, the flat was a tahor, but the hollow was a tummy. If they break, they become tahor. If one remade the broken utensils into new utensils, they are susceptible to tumah from then on. And a table and a iskutel is made of glass or tahor. If they have a rim, they are tummy. And regarding the bottom of a plate and the box bottom of a iskuta made from glass, which one has designated for use as tahor. If he smooth them or shave them with a file, they are tummy. Okay.
Okay. Next. Apples.
Go. The following require waving, but not bringing near. The following require waving, but not bringing near. The log of oil of the Metzorah and the Asham offering, the Bikurim according to Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. The sacrificial parts of an individual shalom offering and its breast and thigh portions, both of man and of women, of male Yisrael, and not of others. The shtei alechem and the 2 lambs of Shavuos. How does he do it? He puts the shtei alechem on the top of the lambs. He places his 2 hands beneath them. He extends and brings, raises and lowers, as it said, which was waved and which was raised. Where waving was done in the east and bringing near in the west, and the same wavings proceeded in bringing near. The mincha of the offering and the jealousy mincha offering requires waving and bringing near, but the lechem upon them and the mincha offering of libations require neither waving nor bringing near. Reb Shimon says there are 3 types of offerings, which between them require 3 procedures, 2 for each one, but not for the third. They are the individual shalom offerings, communal shalom offerings, and the asham offering of the Metzorah. The individual shalom offerings require leaning while living and waving while slaughtered, but they do not require waving when living. Communal shalom offerings require waving while living and when slaughtered, but they do not require leaning. The asham offering of the Metzorah requires leaning and waving while living, does not require waving when slaughtered. Okay. And one who says, I take upon myself to bring, I take upon myself to bring in a Shabbos, they may not bring it in a Markeshes. If he says in a Markeshes, he may not bring it in a Markavas. What is the difference between a Markavas and a Markeshes? Markeshes has a cover, and Shabbos does not have a cover. These are the words of Rabbi Yosef ben Galili. Rabbi Kanan ben Gamil says the Markeshes is deep and its products move around. A Markavas is flat and its products are hard. Okay. And we are on to the Dharam. Dollar. Until the fig picking until the fig picking, or until the fig picking is forbidden, until the people say begin to bring in the figs in baskets. Until the fig pickling passes, it is forbidden. Until the mats are folded up. Until the harvest is forbidden. Until the people begin to gather in the wheat harvest, not the barley harvest. Everything is according to the place of his nether, and if he was in the mountain, the nether refers to the harvest in the mountain. If he was in the valley, it refers to the harvest in the valley. Until the rains are is forbidden until the second rain falls. Then Shimon Gamil says until the time for that rain arrives, until the rain stops, is forbidden until Nisan is over. These are the words of Rav Meir, or Rabbi Yehuda says until Pesach is over. If one says Kohanim wine with respect to my tasting this year, and the year was extended, it's forbidden during it and during the extension until the start of Adar. It is forbidden until the start of the first Adar until the end of Adar, and it is forbidden until the end of the first Adar. Rabbi Yehuda says if one says Kohanim wine with respect to my tasting it until Pesach, it is forbidden only until the night of Pesach, since its intention was only at the time when it's customary for people to drink wine. If one says Kohanim meat with respect to my tasting it until the fast, it's forbidden only until night before of the fast, since its intention was only until the time when it is customary for people to eat meat. Rabbi Yossi, his son, says if one says Kohanim it until the Sabbath, it's forbidden only until the night of Shabbos, since his intention was only until the time when it's customary for people to eat garlic. And Ma'aser Sheni. Oh. Oh. Here we go. Sheni. Okay. If one's produce lay at a distance from him, he must confer it upon the name. It happened once that Rabbi Gamil and the elders were traveling on a ship, and Rabbi Gamil said, "The type that I shall measure is given to Yeshua, and its location is least to him. Another type that I shall measure is given to Akiva, son of Yosef, who shall take possession on behalf of the poor, and its location is least to him." And Yeshua says, "The type that I shall measure is given to Elazar, son of Atariah, and its location is least to him, and they receive rent from one another." At Mincha on the final festival day, they will recite the confession. How is the confession made? I have removed the hallowed things out of my house, and this is my Sheni and Neta Ravai. I have given unto the Levite. This is my Levi. And I was also given this is Truma and Truma Misa to the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. This is Misa Ani, Leket, Shikacha, and Peah. Although I did not impede the confession out of my house, this is Challah. According to all your commandments, which you have commanded me, however, if we separated Ma'aser Sheni before Ma'aser Rishon, he cannot make the confession. I have not transgressed your conventions. I did not separate from one kind for another kind, nor from the plucked for the unplucked, or from the unplucked for the plucked, nor from the new for the old, or from the old for the new. And I have not forgotten. I did not forget to bless you or to mention your name over.
Okay.
Quick question, if you don't mind. I don't know.